Poverty report for 2019-2020 released by the Uganda Bureau of Statistics highlights that 7 sub-regions have child poverty rates exceeding the national average. These include Acholi at 72%, Karamoja at 68%, Bukedi at 37%, Busoga at 33%, Chigezi at 30%, Lango at 26%, and Teso at 24%. The report reveals that 44% of children aged between 0 to 13 in these 7 sub-regions do not have access to 3 meals a day, properly fitting uniforms, beds, blankets, or the fees and equipment required for school.
That are living below the poverty line. Our poverty line in Uganda is Uganda shillings 152,065 shillings. So those households that earn less than that per month mean they are actually living below the poverty line.
Among the identified causes of increased child poverty are extreme household poverty and limited or no access to government programs in these sub-regions. Betty Amongi, Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, emphasizes the need to streamline government programs and support parents in low-income families.
The root cause is to ensure that the parents of the children have enough income at household level to make sure they protect the children, they take the children to school, they provide health care for the children, and they provide basic needs.
Joining us to further this conversation is from Teso, and that is the LOS 5 chairperson, Kapela Byong Francis Akorichin. Thank you so much for joining us. And as well, joining us from Busoga is the Bishop of Central Diocese Busoga, my Lord Patrick Wakula. Thank you both for joining us. I'll begin with you, Francis. What is your reaction and your first thoughts to the report's finding that 44% of Uganda's children are living with multidimensional poverty?
Thank you so much, Samson. Like the report has clearly indicated, that regions that are having high levels of poverty tend to have the issues of children get affected. And when you look at regions like Teso, Karamoja, Lango, and Acholi, there are push factors that are making these regions to be persistently along with the poverty line below. Some of the push factors are because when you look at households that are poor, they are highly agrarian. They are affected. They are involved in agriculture, and currently agriculture in these regions, especially crop farming, is affected by climatic conditions, and that has affected household incomes. And that makes access to better services, particularly for children, food, like the report has indicated, because food is good from production. These are issues that are affecting the region, issues of service delivery. And when you look at conflict, most of these areas are post-conflict areas. This has always culminated in these areas being persistently along with the poverty. So those are the issues that are pushing these children to be living in lack of food. They don't have enough scholastic materials. They can't access health services. So for us to address, to improve these regions, then we must have our programming targeting to deal with poverty issues in these regions.
Thank you, Francis. My Lord Bishop, you've heard that 33% of the children in Busoga are affected by multidimensional poverty. Is this your experience, and what's your reaction to this?
Thank you so much, Mr. Samson. The report is actually right, and the Central Busoga Diocese, as it covers 5 districts out of the 11 from Busoga. I move around all of these districts. I see so many children going barefooted on the schools. You see them missing lunch at school. You find actually life a little bit miserable. And actually, a child is fed from the time when it's during pregnancy. So if the mother is not having enough nutrients, it will affect the fetus in its development. Generally, what I have observed is there is a lot of land fragmentation. There is also polygamy, a family with 3 wives and with less than 1 acre. Of course, this means that production shall be very low. So really the idea is right, and we really feel that intervention should be made so that actually possibly these parents can be helped, and the government can come in to set up. We have heard of the program of the Paris Development Model, which is actually effectively taking place. But generally, I feel there is malnutrition in our children, and intervention is actually very, very, very necessary. These days, areas like Namutumba, areas like Luuka, almost every crop needs fertilizers. So, and fertilizers are quite expensive. I think let us go closer to this. We monitor, we educate, we cause awareness, and there is also need for mind change. Some people think work is negatively, and yet biblically we must do work. So sometimes the attitude is not so good. Sometimes also all along agriculture was used as a punishment in schools. So sometimes people think after graduating I must run to Kampala, and yet actually agriculture is part of us. I really feel if interventions should be made, I know we can overcome. Thank you.
Bishop, let me ask, it is the work of the church, and of course, as you and I know, our Lord was involved in feeding, in healing, and in looking after the underprivileged. What is the role of the church in dealing and ending this poverty?
Oh, I did get you well, but of course, we are also changing the method, the teaching and the preaching. We don't talk about only evangelism. We don't talk about hope in the heavens, when actually physically you are suffering, psychologically, mentally, physiologically you are sick. I think as a church also we are addressing this matter. We are changing the way we talk. We are teaching and preaching our people should work, because work is biblical. Even Jesus worked. So I also encourage my fellow preachers, pastors, imams, can we have an ingredient into our ceremonies and our areas of concern, so that actually doing work is very positive and is godly. After all, when a person, a Christian who has enough food at home, will be a Christian who will be able to bring an offering in the church. So if we don't address the matters of poverty, still also our income shall be affected in the church, which also may not be healthy. I know our methods, we have integrated our methods of preaching to include actually food security, to talk about food, to say that actually our people have enough food to eat. But of course, as we are saying, we need to have a team between the church, the local people, the local leadership, the government, facilitation and helping these people to run away from this. Many of our people may have the ideas, but again, they need to be supported financially. Thank you.
My Lord the Bishop, thank you very much. Francis, coming back to you to close, you've heard probably the comments of the Bishop. You are a leader. What is being done to alleviate this problem?
Thank you so much. Indeed, local governments play a very big role in organizing people. First of all, one, to improve production. As you know, most of the people that we lead are involved in agriculture. It's therefore our responsibility as local governments to improve service delivery, improve the provision of extension services by guiding people to make sure that they are able to have better enterprises, but also support government in the implementation of their wealth creation programs, so that we can be able to organize our people to get out of poverty. But also, when you look at areas that have got out of poverty, where the numbers have improved in terms of wealth, it is those communities and districts have had most people transitioning to other sectors of the economy, particularly on manufacturing, services, and ICT. Most of the districts in the Greater North, Eastern, and Karamoja continue to be highly in agriculture sector. And we have been trying to see how, because when you look at a district like mine, where 90% of the people in agriculture, very few are in the services sector, very few are in ICT sector. It is therefore our collective duty, first of all, to improve service delivery, dealing with constraints that affect service delivery, improving education, improving access to health, improving access to other services. So those are the areas that we are going to work on as local governments in order to take up out of the poverty line. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis, and thank you, my Lord, the Bishop, for that.